You are listening to the Built to Grow podcast.
All right. Welcome back to the Built to Grow podcast. I'm your host, Tim Lyons, in studio, joined as always is here. Can't get rid of him.
Just tried.
Randy Angston, what's up, man?
Constantly. What up, dude?
Just looking at the Bourbon Bible and the complete whiskey course that you gave me for Christmas.
Yeah. You know, you got to keep that pencil sharp.
Yep. I want to go to the Kentucky Derby. It's in May.
We could do. Why haven't we?
Well,
I have friends from Kentucky. We can make this happen.
I asked a bunch of people if they wanted to go, and there was like,
See, I told you he was trying to get rid of me. I was not on that invite list.
I'll go. I'll go by myself.
Are you kidding me? That one, you know,
blast.
I have a thoroughbred in my arena. Like that whole, definitely not a winning horse. Hence the reason he's in my arena now. But no, I know plenty of friends that are massive fans of.
Plus, we can go to the Bourbon Tour, the Bourbon Trail.
I can't think of anything better that we could literally spend some time doing
tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Right. For May, it's going to be a long trip.
All right, so let's jump right into this episode. No announcements. You've kind of heard all the stuff we're doing, and again, I'll just throw the link out there if you're interested in jumping on a call. pfmarketingsolutions.com/call. You'll be able to jump on a call and figure out what you need. Right?
Yeah. Let us help you.
Help me, help you.
There you go.
All right. So continuing on with our red flag series, this is a presentation that I did at the for our Iron Circle on a call about probably a month or two ago. We're just kind of cycling through some of these red flags, some stuff that we've recognized as potential problems in gyms and, you know, things to do to fix them. So this episode's about not understanding the math of marketing. And if we're going to really throw a broad stroke, you know, term or explanation about marketing, it's all math. It's the multiplication of capital is the goal. And sometimes even marketing could be in a negative, but it's still a positive. And I'll explain here in a minute. So there's some acronyms that you have to know what they mean, but you also have to know how to find the values of these. Number one.
And you should know what they are in your business. You need to. If you're going to do the rest of this, if you're going to spend any money in marketing and you don't know these three things, stop spending money in marketing.
Correct. So number one is the CPA. Okay. CPA stands for cost per acquisition. And this is the amount of spend it takes for you to convert a member or a customer. So you spend money in marketing, it generates leads, those leads book appointments, and then a percentage of those people convert into customers. It's really simple. If you spend $1,000 and you got 4 customers at the end of the day, $250 per acquisition. Okay. So that's CPA. You need to know that number. Then you also need to know AOV, average order value. And what I mean by order value, it's the amount of money they give to you upfront. Like the day they sign up. And really, if you're doing weekly payments, I would average that out to 30 days. Like, what's the amount of money you're going to get in return from this customer in the first 30 days? Ideally, you want your AOV to be much higher than your CPA. If it's not higher, it's still okay because there's one more acronym called CLV.
For our business, for selling a longer term, a membership, if you may. That's why Tim's saying it's okay, and we'll get into that.
Yeah, so the okay is CLV, is client lifetime value. Maybe you don't get all the money back for your CPA on the day of the sale, in the first 30 days. Maybe your AOV is less than your CPA.
Meaning you've earned, let's say, the $250. No, what were we saying? That was the cost per acquisition. Yeah. So you've earned $100 that first
month
transaction. That first month, you've earned $100 with that client.
Right. So let's just say your AOV is 100 and your CPA is 250. Now you're in the negative. You're negative $150. But you've got this thing called CLV, is client lifetime value, and that client is worth $1,200.
Perfect.
So let's just say you have a $100 a month membership. You get that first month up front. AOV is 100, and then they're going to be there for 11 more months. So your CLV is $1,200. That's the math. $100 times 12 months is $1,200. So now you start looking at your CPA, it cost me $250 to acquire a client that's worth $1,000. Would you do the deal? And the answer should be yes. You'd also have to look at your cost per service, that client. But at the end of the day, most of you don't know any of those numbers.
Sure. Yeah. And that's just a hard thing to understand.
And you're spending blindly. Mm-hmm. What this episode is going to try to help you understand is when you know these numbers, you get really confident in your marketing. You are definitely okay spending money because you know your CPA is much less than your AOV, or it's much, much less than your CLV. So you're okay with your marketing spend. The problems that we see is not knowing what your CPA is. You spent some arbitrary number that somebody told you should be 10% of your gross revenue, and you threw that out in the market, and you got some members. You don't know where they came from. You don't know, you can't attribute the sales that you made to the marketing that you spent, and you don't really know what was my CPA. Now, the good news is if you're doing digital marketing, you can track all this. It's right there in the dashboards on anything from Google Ads Manager to Facebook or any, typically digital.
Yeah.
Now, every single one of you has been approached by a marketing company, magazine, to place your ads in some arbitrary fashion that you cannot track. The back of the receipts at the grocery store comes to mind. The carts. We'll put your gym. You're going to be exclusive to this grocery store. All of your customers are spending their money at our grocery store. You got to be right there. Well, on paper, that sounds pretty cool, right? All my people are but how do you track that? So I would tell you that if you can't track your CPA based on your spend, you don't know your ROI or return on investment, I would say that goes off the table.
Yeah, those are the last places you should be spending advertising money, marketing money.
Right, because again, you don't know.
That is risk, right? And that the whole point of this, like Tim said, is when you're confident about these different numbers, when you know your AOV, your lifetime value, it removes the risk and the fear. If you've ever sat in a seat and said, I'm spending too much on marketing, or I don't know if it's working, if it's working, these are the numbers that you need to figure out in order to tell yourself yes or no. More often than not, in digital marketing, if we sat down with a client, they had shut off campaigns that were winning campaigns. And the problem was they didn't realize that the lifetime value of their client was where the money is made. Think of it like investing, right? You've got short-term investments, you've got long-term investments. Those that play short-term, it's high risk. It's real high risk. It's volatile. It's tough. If your average cost per acquisition, you're trying to make up with your average order value, and you're only marketing to those that are going to make more money in that first sale, it's really tough to make that happen often, especially in our business. Now, there's businesses that do, sign up fees and can, all those types of things to boost that initial transaction value. But we're the opposite. We'll go deeper in the pocket, spend more money because we know the long-term investment that we're getting, or the long-term return from this client is where the majority of the money is coming from. So if you even just think about it that way, understand it's okay if you don't make that money day one, maybe even month two, but you've got that client for 10, 12, 14, 36 months that they're going to continue paying for. Now, one thing that I really want to drive home, and we've talked about this topic a lot, is averages. Everything has to be an average in your business. And I'm going to drive it even harder. If you look at the data of your business and you go and you start to add your own interpretation, you got to stop, because your emotions are then changing and skewing the numbers, and I'm saying it like, if you sat in that sales seat and you're like, oh, well, that lead didn't count, they weren't really committed to the sale, or, like you start to give your reasoning behind the data. If that's the case, you're doing it wrong, guys. The math doesn't lie. Now, granted, okay, we know sometimes, there was one less lead because it was a test or something like that. Sure. But if you're trying to find ways of making the data fit your emotional state, you're absolutely doing it wrong. The data is where you interpret everything from. Use the data to then turn around and understand, okay, I need to put more money in this marketing campaign, or I need to pull money out of this marketing campaign. That's where the data is the ultimate decider, not you looking at the data and going, oh no, yeah, remember, because we joke all the time, everybody closes at 80%. Well, if that's what you think and your data says you close at 20%, guess what the logic, or guess what the truth is?
Truth is 20.
The truth is the 20. So get out of your own way and understand it's okay to not know these things. It's not okay to continue marketing without learning these things.
Learning them.
That's where you come into play. That's where your responsibility to your business comes in. Understand the math, get really clear on the numbers, and you'll never worry about, should I spend more money, or am I throwing, good money at the wall and hoping that something comes from it?
Yeah, and you should be able to track your spend on different platforms too, because you're going to spend money on Google and you're going to spend money on Facebook, but which one of those ended up being? So there's some arbitrary numbers that people look at that shouldn't be your decider. For example, cost per click, cost per lead really isn't a decider.
No.
And I'll give you a great example. If you go on Facebook and you run something there and you're getting $10 leads, and you go over to Google and you're getting $50 leads, but all the Google $50 leads are converting and none of the Facebook ads are converting, what does it matter what the cost per lead is? It's the cost per acquisition.
And this is where, and it's tough when you're working with a marketing company and, their job is really kind of ends at the lead, generation portion, right? From where you pick up that lead information in your sales process, that's the second half or the middle ground of that performance, that customer journey. So when they're throwing numbers at you like cost per lead, cost per click, maybe even CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions, all of those things, sure, to them, that's what they need to focus on. But when it hits your plate, you need to then interpret the data and understand where those leads went from there. How many of them converted from that pole in the water? That's to Tim's point. So
yeah. And the tough part happens, the tough part in the fitness business most often is because the sale happens offline.
Yeah.
And, there's some tools, and I don't think anybody listening really needs to have some of these really high-end tools unless you're spending like 10 grand a month in ads. There's things that will attribute sales that happen in your Mind Body Zen Planner backwards into your Facebook ads. And so it'll say, this client was a lead from this ad set, from this campaign. They trickled into the gym. They made the purchase at the gym. And the software will then push backwards the data into Facebook so you can see exactly what ad, what image, what piece of copy converted that person. And even better, it continues every time that person gets billed. It continues to grow the lifetime value backwards into your Facebook ads manager. And that's when you really know exactly what your return on ad spend is on each individual piece of copy, your targeting, your images. Like, you can find the winners really, really quickly when you have tools in place. However, most often you're not going to need that. What you're going to need to do is know exactly your lead source, what you spent in a given month, who converted it, how much did they spend, and what did they sign up for. If you can track that offline on a Google Sheet or whatever, you can determine this ad campaign's kicking ass and I'm getting like a 5-to-1 ROAS on this particular ad set to this audience.
That's what I was getting at. But more often than not, when we sit down with somebody who's doing digital marketing, we consistently see ads performing better than ads that aren't. It's just the attribution's not there, right? Clients didn't understand, this marketing paid off because, maybe I only got a few of those leads, but they ended up members in my gym. And there's no
sign up on unlimited for a year.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe that, the marketing campaign, if you look at just those KPIs, key performance indicators of an ad campaign without the understanding of where those people went after the fact, absolutely. Now it makes sense why you shut those campaigns off. Mm-hmm. But you have to understand the results that came from that marketing to truly understand which KPIs, which numbers mean the most. Because if you're looking at things like cost per lead and cost per click and stuff like that, without the understanding that that person is a $3,600 client that you just got, of course it looks like a loss.
You just don't, that's the red flag.
Exactly.
That's the red flag. You don't understand the math of marketing. So understand the things that we just explained to you, and you're going to get real clear. You get real clear, like, oh my gosh, I shut off all these ad campaigns. They were actually performing. Let's turn them back on.
Yeah. We just did it. We just did it with one of our coaching clients.
Oh yeah.
We just went, or that was actually the first converation 8 weeks ago.
Well, here's the kicker with this particular coaching client. He knew his CPA. He didn't understand how good it was.
There you go.
So he didn't understand that he had a grand slam campaign at his fingertips. He was looking at the ad spend. That's it. He didn't look downhill on what it gave him as a return. He was like, oh man, I spent $1,000. Well, he was getting CPAs at $40, $50, and his AOV was 500 on day one. So he was already, 10x ROAS on day one. On day one, not even considering his lifetime value of these clients. And so we had a discussion. We obviously pressed the gas on that campaign. He ran it at his other gym, and he's blowing the doors off because he's not afraid anymore. Not afraid. So his fear is gone. He's like, dude, this is the best thing ever. And he is killing it. And his, actually, even with more ad spend, his CPA is dropped, which doesn't always happen, which is nice. That's just a bonus. He's actually reaching more. In the big kicker of this whole thing is he's outspending his competition now.
Which means clients are coming to his gym and not theirs.
Yeah. Yep. And there you go. There's the math of marketing. So hopefully this makes sense. If you guys need help, this is stuff we do talk about in our coaching program. We've turned this guy's gym around. He's super excited, and he's kicking, like, I can't even believe he's just tripling his membership overnight.
Every single person who sits down and understands this right here changes your business, period. If you can understand this, guys, you will literally, Tim and I talk about going from, being reactive in your business to being proactive. If you aren't consciously putting people in your gym every month by spending money, you're leaving money on the table. You need to know this is the way to get further faster than your competition, period. And understanding this is the foundation for how the hell to go do it. If you want to win, learn this concept above anything else, in my opinion. Sure. You can always outsell a problem in your gym. You can always outmarket your competition. This will create more change in your business than what any other system structure. This is imperative to the growth of your business.
And you know what's easy about it? It's just math. That's it. It's anybody that can see the numbers will know what's right and what's wrong. And it's so simple once you get it. Hopefully that helps you guys. If you have any questions, pfmarketingsolutions.com/call. Happy to help you. Take it and win. So until next episode, guys, keep changing lives. See you on the next show. Bye.